wisdom, Des brings the fire. Together they take the convo higher. So plug in, stay tuned, don't look away. The Bishop Exchange makes your
Boom! What a way to start a show.
Welcome to the Bishop Exchange. We're literally doing that to have a professional opening, John. You were supposed to say, welcome to the Bishop Exchange. It's John and Des Bishop.
I know. Welcome to the Bishop Exchange. It's John and Des Bishop. I bring the wisdom. Des brings the fire. How are you, Des?
I'm good. I'm good. It's can I break the fourth wall here?
Yeah,
and
please
say
do.
that it's only been 2 or 3 days since we recorded the last one. It's been a week since you, the listener, have heard us. But this is how much we love Brad. Okay?
Yes.
We're recording early because Brad is away next week, and we wouldn't have Brad. And Brad, we couldn't do it without you.
No.
Thanks, guys.
No, we miss you, Brad. So we've got up early on a Friday morning to record this just so you can piss off to New York on holiday.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most Gen Z thing ever. The least important guy in the trio is like, I'm going on holiday.
Well, he's not the least important because if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be going up.
I'm joking, Brad. The voice of reason, the voice of God from the echoes.
So wait, now that we've introduced it, Brad, where are you actually going? Might as well tell people.
Where am I going on holiday?
Yeah.
New York City.
With your fella.
With me, fella. Any recommendations, Des?
Oh, God. People going to New York. I mean, it's so hard. There's so much stuff to do.
Tell you what, Brad, I'll give you one. Right. This is a very good recommendation, particularly if you're going with somebody that you're in love with. If you go to Central Station and you go downstairs in Central Station by the Oyster Bar, and there's these whispering arches, which means that you can stand on one side of the room and whisper to the wall, and what you say gets carried across the other side of the room. Just whisper, I love you. It'll carry it across the room. And when I say across the room, I mean, it must be about 20 feet away. And it's a whisper, and it carries it. It's a very, very unique thing that a friend of mine told me when I was going about a year ago with Melanie. So it's a nice little surprise for them.
Wow, the whispering arches. You should whisper to him, we're a young gay couple. What the fuck are we doing here in John's recommendation? We're in the craziest city in the world, and John has us whispering in arches in Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
All joking aside, John, that was a great recommendation. I've from New York. I've been there like so much of my life. I didn't even know that existed. Grand Central Station on its own is a great visit.
Great place. Yeah. So, all right, good. Well, we hope when you come back, Brad, you tell us it was good.
We look forward to the update. So, I mean, this episode, we did say that we wanted to, get up to date with the people that messaged in. So we're gonna clear the zone on the messages.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, what's happened? So we've started this, as people will probably know, and it was a bit of a random idea because I was in New York and we had like a day and a half of thinking about it before we started. And one of the things that we said is we'll ask people to send questions in because, I've worked in radio before. Becky, who works with us, worked in radio before. It's a good way of interacting, but you do it on the burner phone. And what surprised us is we've got loads. So I thought we were going to get one or two. So already by episode 3, we've got a bit of a backlog. So this is a useful way of clearing out the closet, getting through a few of the questions. So at least we've been able to respond to them.
Speaking of you doing radio, Becky, that also works with us, Brad, you found a picture of me and John from 2014 at BBC Studios. You were filling in for Graham Norton. I posted it on my Instagram.
Oh, did you?
And I did, just to push people messaging in. And honestly, when we were younger, we really looked related. I like, even though I've said it so many times to people, we're not related. I had like at least 10 messages last night saying, you guys have to be related.
Yeah.
It's kind of uncanny.
It is uncanny. In fact, there's a great photograph that when I came over for the wedding with me, you and your brother Aidan, where we were sort of going to go swimming. We were on the beach. We were going to go swimming.
Yes.
We had a photograph. I think Melanie might have took it, the photograph of the three of us. And like if someone had said, I was your third brother, you know what I mean? That would fit in.
Yeah, I mean, nobody would deny it.
And we need to follow this up. We need to get this Ancestry.com to do your DNA and see if they match it with mine.
Yeah, that will be a great episode when we find out we're related.
Yeah, by our fourth great granddad or something.
Now, Brad, I did a country version of our intro song from AI. Can we play that? There we go.
Stories and laughs with a chuckle and grin. Welcome to the place where the fun begins. On the Bishop Exchange, there's conversations with wit and wisdom for all generations.
Hey!
John and Dad,
John and Dad.
it's my thing.
All right, you got it.
And every week, don't you?
On the Bishop.
Exchange.
Now that was the first one that felt to me like a complete song. And since the majority of our audience are between 45 and 60, maybe that's the vibe. Maybe that's the way. You know, we're sitting there joking around about our hip hop intro, but maybe it should be like on the Bishop Exchange. Yeah.
Clappy, clappy,
Yeah.
clappy.
But that was
Listen,
a fun one.
45 to 60. I'm 45 to 60. You're 45 to 60.
No, I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying.
You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that we're all out to pasture, but I have to say, my ear does like a little bit of country.
Oh,
I
interesting.
am a country boy. When me and Brad were in Nashville this year on tour, it was a nice vibe to walk down the main street there and listen to bars bouncing out a lot of country songs.
Yeah, I remember when my mother came out to me after all our lives of living together. I came back from Ireland one time. I was using her car. I turned on the car and the country music station was on. And when I got home, I said, Ma, the country music station was on in the car. And she was like, I like country music.
Oh, listen, but like for me growing up, this is a very genuine thing, and it's a thing around. I think it's very much a Liverpool thing, but I'm sure other people in other parts of the country had it. Country and Western is what I grew up with, but I'm talking Hank Williams, Jim Reeves, Patsy Cline, that level of country and Western, Johnny
Right.
Cash, that. They were the records played in our house. That's what my mum and dad listened to. Because that generation of parents who were born in the 40s, who were sort of on the edge of your rock and rolls and all that. Yeah, they went rock and roll, they went country and Western. My mum and dad used to go to country and Western weekends. I remember we took the kids, we were in this caravan in Wales. Oh God, just by Rill, was it Rill or just outside of Rill in Wales? Caravan park, took over for the weekend for country and Western. So there's men like from Birmingham dressed as cowboys, right, with the full thing, and Indians, and they had shootouts in the bar. They had quickest draw and everything. It was absolutely joyful. So I love a bit of country.
Your parents were cosplaying at a young age. You know, now it's like they dress up as anime, but your parents were doing the country Western
Country
cosplay.
and Western thing, yeah, definitely.
It's big. It's big in Ireland too.
Yeah.
Actually, particularly when I was in Connemara, I was surprised how much they were into
Yeah,
country
it
and
is
Western,
big.
and they jive. You know, the old school jiving,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
could all do it. That actually, I mean, my generation definitely didn't learn how to jive en masse, and I always remember like going to weddings and stuff as we were younger. My aunts, my uncles, my parents, they all knew how to like
Exactly.
basic jiving, dance. They all knew how to dance together. If I was to say one thing that was an unfortunate, not passed on skill, was the ability to just dance with random people easily.
Yeah, and dance with a partner.
We'll pick a final intro
Yeah.
song, whether we use the AI one or not.
Unless there's a musician who wants to send us something in, who's actually a human being.
So anyway, here we are.
We're
gonna-
here. We're doing this show. So this show, as we said, is an opportunity to go through the messages that have been sent in, because it was more than we expected in the couple of shows that we've done so far.
Can I, before we start the messages, I just thought of something we never talked about. and I think it's kind of mental what's going on. So I'm going to share about it. Do you remember when you made the joke about Ozempic or something?
Oh
Didn't you
yeah,
make it? What was
yeah.
and I said, oh, there's a reason why that's so funny. So 2.5 weeks ago, I started taking Mounjaro, which is like one of those Ozempic things. And before people judge me, the reason why is I tore my ACL last year. I've had a terrible recovery, got problems with my knee. So I piled on the pounds to 16 and a half stone, over 230 pounds, like 100 and something kg for all the different measurements that people use. Which is a lot of extra weight to be putting on my crappy knee. And I had heard that not only do you lose weight, but it's an anti-inflammatory. And Jim Gaffigan, the great American comedian, said that his knee pain went away from taking Mounjaro. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking Mounjaro. I only started 2.5 weeks ago, but I weighed myself this morning. And in 2.5 weeks, I've lost 17 pounds.
What's that in
Which measurement do you need?
I don't know, kilos.
In kilos. Well, let's put it this way. Do you still use stone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've lost I've lost 3 pounds over a stone. A stone 3. I've
Yeah,
lost
mate,
in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, but listen, let's not get into this because that can't be healthy. There's no way.
Okay, Dr. John. Okay, Dr. John.
fucking Fat Des, you just sat there going, I'm putting on weight.
I'm on it. I'm just talking about my own experience.
Okay, well, you tell me then. Because what I don't want to do is I don't like the idea that there might be people who are thinking I could do with losing a bit of pounds, hearing this and thinking, oh my God, I wish I could get that, and replacing the idea that, sensible eating and exercise is slower and longer but better for you long term. And I just want to ask you, what happens? You inject yourself with this fucking thing, and then what happens?
John, I'm not here to give the TED talk on
No, I mean
Mounjaro
physically.
works.
No, I don't mean how it works. I don't mean that. What I mean is, for you as a person, you just suddenly not eat food or what?
It suppresses your appetite, right? And the big thing is that you feel fuller quicker, so you automatically eat less. Are you calling your dog over?
Yeah, come here, Stan.
I can't
Yeah.
concentrate.
So you automatically eat less.
Oh, automatically. By the way, this is not an ad for Mounjaro, but my knee has gotten way better in a short space of time. Like way better.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So here's the thing. It's like I'm an active, super active guy all my life, and I eat the way that I eat. And then suddenly I can't be active. So I was like piling on the pounds.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
listen,
could have changed the way you're at. But there you go.
John, I tried. It's not easy, but that's okay. There's a lot of judgment from people like you out there. But you go online and you see all the happy people. You knocked your camera, by the way. You see all the happy people that the results that they've had.
Say hello to Stanley. Stanley.
No, there's Stanley with his fat cheeks.
Do you want to be on Mounjaro?
John is unfocused. I'm on Mounjaro. John needs to be on some ADHD drug to keep this guy focused. We need Mounjaro for Des and Ritalin for John. We got some Ritalin. So Brad, let's have him.
Hi, this is Jen calling from Canada. You've both had tremendous careers and opportunities to be interviewed for shows and articles. There must be a question that you are simply so tired of being asked. Would love to know what that is. And would also love to know what would be a better question.
Oh,
Thanks so much. Loving the podcast.
that's a toughie.
Yeah,
mean,
well, the question I hate being asked is, what's the question you hate being asked?
Which we're only joking, Jen. Was it
No,
actually a good
Jen,
question?
I think that's a really good question, and it is interesting because you get interviewed over the years, and it's very interesting when you start off. The first question that you're always going to get is, how did you get into it? Particularly if you're like me, you came to it later in life. How did you get into comedy? That's an obvious question for people to ask you. And at the beginning of your career, that's good. When you're 10 years in or beyond, and now 20 years in plus, and people go, tell us how you started in comedy. that kind of, you go, and that's the kind of thing sometimes as well what people don't realize. When you go on chat shows, you have these research chats before, and it's the researcher sometimes who's been told by a producer or something, right, just ask him stuff, and you think, you don't have to ask me that, because that's not going to come up in the interview. We're going to spend 10 minutes now of me telling you something that I've said a dozen times before. That's
Yes.
not going to happen. And they're the things where you go, oh. I generally like interviews, though. I don't
love it.
mind them. Yeah.
I love it. Sometimes you go to like really interesting places. I mean, honestly, the obvious one is how did you get into comedy? But I don't actually hate that question. I just think like it's unfortunate that they asked because I've given this answer so many times.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I suppose it's not their fault. I suppose it, from what I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, I wish, because the story of me getting into comedy and when I got into it, like you say it a lot of times, and we've both got interesting stories about how we got into comedy, but there's only one story.
Yeah.
It's the one route, and you almost think, I wish I could come up with another one.
Yeah, make up a new one.
Because you think in your head, oh my God, I'm just repeating myself. But in reality, if it's the first time you've heard it, it is an interesting answer. So to be fair, you're right. It's not the interviewer's fault, it's mine.
Yeah, I just always think people have heard it. I'll tell you the question I hate the most is when somebody says, "What's your greatest regret?" And I'm like, okay,
Ooh.
not a bad
So if
question.
someone said that to you in an interview.
Somebody said that to me recently in an interview.
Wow.
What's your greatest regret? And it's not that it's a bad question, but it's a bad question for public consumption. You know, it's a
Yeah.
great question in therapy or like when you're trying to have a deeper relationship with your partner, they're trying to get to know you better. You know?
You know what? It's an interesting thing that you should say that when you're saying therapy, because a lot of podcasts now are replacing therapy. I think you end up, you know what I mean? People are coming on, and I've done it myself. I did a podcast called High Performance, and I was grateful to do it because they were really good, and one of the guys is actually a psychologist and so on. But then he asked me a question about, which they ask everybody. Because they're basically, the premise of the show is all people who have achieved in whatever industry they're in. And they're saying, what are the things that you carry around with you as a child? The stones in your stomach, I think they called it, that are the things that shape you.
Jesus.
And I'm like, and I found myself saying it in a way, and I didn't mind it going out to public consumption, but it was a little bit for me. I was like, whoa, that was a bit. I wasn't expecting myself to be that open. So there's a difference, and I think this is an important thing actually. There's a difference between a interview that you get in a podcast environment, sort of a one-to-one interview, and a chat show.
Now, Tommy Tiernan can be a little intense.
Yeah, but Tommy, for those people who don't know, Tommy Tiernan does this brilliant show where he doesn't know the guest, and so
It's great, but it can get intense.
Yeah, it gets tense because he just asks you what's in his head.
Yeah, but it's also like a podcast, so there's there's a closeness to the conversation that's different to a chat show,
Well, there's an intimacy. So I went on the first time I went on Tommy's show. I sat down and like I've known Tommy for years, and he obviously knows me and knows my life. And he just said, "So what was it like when your dad went to prison?" And I went, no one's ever asked me that, because obviously no one's ever asked me that. But it must be every time, all of these years, that Tommy's looked at me whenever we've been somewhere, he must be thinking in the back of his head, I wonder what that was like. I should ask him one day. I'll tell you what, I'll ask him when I'm on telly.
I'll ask him in front of the whole Irish nation.
Yeah, I'll ask him on TV. That's a good way to do it.
By the way, number one, they didn't know your dad was in prison, and number two, you've never spoken about it publicly.
No, never spoke about it publicly before. And, I wrote it in my book, I wrote it in my autobiography, and it was a thing as well within the family. Before I put it in the autobiography, I spoke to my dad, I spoke to my mum, I spoke to my brothers and sisters, and there was a bit of a split about whether you make this a public thing, but
Yes.
because it was such a pivotal thing in my life, and because basically my dad went to prison because he was defending my mum. It's not something that I'm embarrassed about or ashamed of, but it was one of those things that you keep quiet. But then when someone says, how did you become the person that you are? You cannot avoid those big things.
A pivotal moment like that,
Yeah.
100%.
So I think coming back to the question, there are some, the question about what should you be asked? I suppose what you should be asked is no, how did you get here? But almost why did you get here?
Whoa. Jesus.
Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
bomb dropped. Boom.
I mean, I like the best questions that I like are the ones that evolve from the actual conversation. So
Yeah.
because normal conversations, it's like a journey, right? You're getting to know. So I like when the conversation goes to a place and then the interviewer has a really good question based on what you've been talking
What you've
about.
just said, the biggest thing, and again, seeing it loads of times, where I've been in it, where you're having an interview and they're just waiting for you to stop talking so they can ask the next question.
next question.
That's on the odds. If you're not listening,
Oh, that's the
Mate.
worst.
you gotta listen. The best interviews in the world. It's not about the questions. It's about it's not about what they say. It's not about the questions they ask you. It's about what they hear. The ones that listen.
I was crying on Ryan Sickler. You probably don't know him, American comic. He has a podcast called The Honeydew, but it's based on the lowlights. That's his jam. So in advance, you pick a lowlight. So you have to pick a time in your life that was tough. So
Yeah.
I went with my dad's death because obviously I've talked about that a lot. But this motherfucker asked me a question. Next thing, I was crying on that damn podcast.
Really?
Yeah, well, because I hadn't thought about it in a while. I
Yeah.
used to talk about it a lot, and then I hadn't thought about it in a while, and I was telling him the story of when I went to see my dad immediately after we found out that his cancer was incurable, and I told him the story, and next thing, I'm fucking crying with this guy I just met 20 minutes before.
But I tell you, this is something that I like about this medium, right? Because all of a sudden people are having conversations that never exist. I don't know we're taking the piss over AI and all the rest of it, but the way technology has allowed people to get closer because we're having conversations we never had before. We never had these. There wasn't shows like this. These things didn't exist. There wasn't interview shows, there wasn't podcast shows, there wasn't bits where people were able just to let the guard down. Everything was a smile and in England anyway, we had the Michael Parkinson show, which everyone held up as an incredible interview show, and it was because they were long form interviews, but also he listened. Everything else is like a promo show, and that's what I think. That's why I'm grateful for this world of podcasts. I mean, listen to us. We've been mates for over 20 years, and we're talking about things now because somebody who we don't know has asked us a question. I think that's a brilliant thing.
Yeah, so when I was in early recovery, we used to call people that weren't addicts normies because we thought that like other people didn't understand the way that we struggle, like with our mental health and our pain. So we called them normies. But one of the great things about this podcast revolution is I now know that everybody's fucked up, which is really warming to my heart.
Yeah.
That we are not that there are no such things as a normie. Everybody struggles. We just happen to be in a forum, a group therapy forum, where we were open to talking about our pain. But now all these podcasts, like everybody's talking about their pain. In fact, to be honest, I feel like you have to make pain up if you don't have it because you got to fit in.
Brad, sorry, what was that lady's name?
Jen, right?
Okay.
So
Jen.
hit us with it.
Yeah, Jen. Great question. Thank you.
All right, Brad.
Hi, John. Hi, Des. I wanted to ask how you both got started in comedy.
Oh, Brad,
That is brilliant.
that is some genius, and you didn't even know that we were going to rip on that. Oh,
I told you he was important.
it's not a bad question. We're not laughing at
No,
you.
listen, I literally just texted my friend and said, "Can you send me a voice note saying?" So you don't have to apologise.
Oh my God, Brad,
It's not a real question.
There's a Christmas bonus coming.
Brad, which one of the girls was that?
This is Rachel, my university friend.
Oh, well done, Rachel. That was funny.
That was a good. Thank you. That was it. That was a healing laugh I got there, Brad.
Okay, wait there.
Good evening, gentlemen. Well, it's the evening for me. I'm currently cuddling with a sheepskin while my husband puts the children to bed. And I'm hearing the weirdest noises outside from my neighbors. And all in all, we have relatively good neighbor situations. But what are your neighbor situations like? Any bizarre howling, screaming, drama? Do you guys say hello? What's the deal?
Well, first of all,
Whoa.
can I
Was
can
that
I
was
just
that a,
say that was
whoa,
like one
whoa.
of those sleep
Chat,
apps.
that was like, no, that was a bit like a chat line.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
ASMR.
I know, snuggling up in a
I was loving it. Yeah,
sheepskin. What a lovely voice. Brad,
Do-
what was that lady's name?
you
That is Ashley.
Ashley.
Ashley. Hey,
Do you
Ashley.
don't watch Severance, John? Right? You haven't watched Severance yet.
No, I started the first step the other day and I got distracted.
This woman literally reminded me of Miss Casey. I was just getting calmed by her dulcet tones,
Very nice. Yeah, very nice.
but also kind of
Neighbours. I mean,
yeah.
like,
It's
if
a very
she
sort
was,
of it's a very unpeaceful question in a very peaceful way.
I know, a very unpeaceful question. It's basically in a really nice voice saying, "Do you live next door to twats?"
Yeah.
If you ever lived next door to someone you don't like.
So I've always gotten on well with my neighbors, but I had one fucking bonkers situation. Literally right here in the house that I'm sitting in right now in Rialto in Dublin. They don't live here anymore, the people I'm about to talk about. But I don't know how long ago it was, but it was in the early days of being in this house. And so both sides of the street here are they're regular parking, right? There's no at the time there was no restrictions. So my buddy was living in the house with me, and he had a car also. So I wouldn't park in front of my driveway to not block him in because he had a normal job, so he was leaving early in the morning. So I would just park across the street, right? I never thought anything of it. I didn't know that this area was already one of those parking things. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? So I was parking directly across the street, and had my neighbor come over and just been like, "Hey, I actually like parking in front of the house because this neighborhood is a shithole and I don't want my car to get robbed," which, is a very understandable thing. It's gentrified, but, it hadn't then. Anyway, I get a knock on my door, a guy I've never seen before. I've never met him. And I open the door and he says, "If you keep parking your car in front of my fucking house, I'm going to fucking block your driveway for a week." Right? Like that. Like literally like that. Now, listen, red rag to a bull. And I'm not going to get into the details, but it was aggressive. There was no violence, but it was aggressive because I was like, who the fuck do you think you
I
are
know.
showing up at my door, right? So we end up we're in the middle of the fucking street because this guy's trying to get away from me now because I am losing it, okay? I'm in like full Queens and
Fuck you.
so I think this guy was in regret mode, right? So we're in the middle of the street and I'm like in this guy's face. And I live across the street from a bus stop where there's a few homeless guys that hang out there, right? But so
Here we go. Like, fucking hell, I wish I had parking problems.
okay, so this is what really triggered me. How we ended up out in the middle of the street, I forgot to add this, is your man goes, "You're not in the fucking telly now," he says to me. Right? So now I know where this is coming from. It's this passive aggressive bullshit about, oh, your man thinks he's great because he's off the fucking telly. Because at this stage I was pretty well known in Ireland. So when he goes, "You're not in the fucking telly now," and I was like, bro, what the like I fucking lost it. I'm in the middle of the street, right? And these homeless guys who I talk to all the time, right? I probably had seen one of them at a NA meeting before. So anyway, the homeless guy comes up and he goes, "Des, seriously, you don't want to do anything you regret here. Just let it go. It's not worth it." So the Lord spoke through the homeless guy across the street, and I let it go. And obviously I never talked to that guy again, but that was my worst
That was your
neighbor.
worst.
Yeah. So you never know who's
You
going to
never know.
come in.
No, I tell you mine. I've only just remembered this actually. I tell you mine. So we lived on a road, and we did this. This wasn't like yours, a confrontation. We lived on a road in Manchester, and everyone at the end of the road used to speed up past our house. They used to fly past the house far too fast. And then all of a sudden we've got kids, little kids, and I'm putting kids in the car, and cars are going past, and I thought, fuck, this is getting on my nerves. You're writing to the council, you're writing to like the residents, no one's taking any fucking notice. I'm putting signs up, no one's taking notice. And then across the road on the main road, there's some roadworks getting done. So, and I went over, so they had this tarmac truck. So I went over to him and I said, Adam, we were in Manchester, but these the lads from Liverpool, these Scouse lads. I said, listen, I want a hump putting outside my house, right? So we went, got a block of wood, 4x2 piece of wood, put out and covered it in tarmac, right? Just covered this wood in tarmac. Said no, you could hear within the first hour cars, normal speed, they'll go boom, boom. All these cars hit this because it was more like a triangle than a hump. It was hardly smoothed off. So then all the neighbours started complaining. Then all the neighbours wrote to me. The big residents committee wrote to me and said, you've got to take your speed hump down. You've got to take your speed hump down. You can't have a speed hump like that. It's damaging our cars. And I wrote back to them all and said, that speed hump is staying. Right? I asked you all to slow down. You didn't. The speed hump is staying. Since that speed hump has been there, none of my children have been knocked down, so it is 100% effective. So I said that right. And
Wow.
the speed hump is still there. It's still
Really?
there. Yeah, we were in Manchester the other day. It's still there 20 odd years later. So
Wow.
so the message of this, if your neighbours are doing anything and the council won't out, fucking sort it out yourself.
And listen, neighborly stuff can really show you how human history is doomed because people will they'll put a flag on a parking spot the same way the Spanish put a flag in South America.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, that's mine.
And it's like, you don't have any right to this parking spot, but now you do,
Now
right?
you
And
do.
that's it.
Now it's yours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great question.
Thanks.
Brad, let's have another.
Hi, Des and John. Absolutely love the podcast. Des, I listen to Burner Phone, and I swear I talk about it all the time. And my friends and my mom are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But anyways, question for you guys is: if you weren't comedians, what would you be doing?
Oh,
Who's that, Brad?
That was Alex.
Alex. Good question, Alex. Nice question. Alex got a lot of nice voices on this as well.
I know.
We
We
gotta
gotta
American ladies.
yeah, a lot. You know what it is? I feel like, isn't it? There's one thing about the Yanks you have to say, and or North Americans. I don't know. I feel like they're just like more comfortable in this context.
Definitely.
I feel like there's more like a, because you know what it is. Americans are less worried. North Americans in general are like a little less worried about cringe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where that comes from culturally, but we're getting a lot of American accents.
We are getting a lot of American accents, unless it's one person who's got good accents.
Which is fine by me. They're doing it great.
No, great. Yeah, they are less reserved. So what else would you be? Do you know what you'd be?
I honestly, I think I would be a history lecturer. I think I would be lecturing in history in some not that fancy university somewhere in Ireland or the United States.
What history would you be lecturing on?
I'd say I'd probably be lecturing on Irish history. I mean, I only finished my BA. I didn't do a master's. I didn't do any post grad, but I focused a lot on Irish history. I was very focused on Irish history because I came here as an outsider, and I really absorbed the history as part of trying to fit in, understand, and be part of. And Irish history is so fascinating. So I think I would probably be a lecturer on Irish history. I, in the past, nearly started a history podcast because that I do love that.
And I think Irish history is different. I went to a lecture at Cork University on
Which
Irish.
is where my degree is.
Yeah, on Irish folklore, and Irish history, Irish folklore, and all about the fairies.
Oh right, yeah.
The
I wasn't
history
talking
of the-
about that.
No, but what I mean is it's like the cultural history. Obviously, you got your political history, you got your social history, and it's the only lecture I've ever been in Cork University. I was doing it for this documentary. It was just about how the history creates this folklore, because fairies in England are like nice things that or that grant you wishes, whereas the fairies in Irish folklore stole your children, and they would steal your boys mainly. So there's all of this. So what used to happen? Young boys used to get dressed as girls so that the fairies wouldn't come and get them. Very, very,
Yeah.
very true. Fascinating. And in fact, there was a case, and I'm not talking hundreds of years ago. Oh God, I'm digging out the back of my head. Something like 1923 or something, with this guy in Ireland. His defence for murdering his wife was that he thought she'd been possessed by a fairy. That's true. That is honestly true. Honestly true. We'll try and clarify that. For me, right, I tell you what I would love to be. Very interesting that you say lecturer. I would like to have been, I'd like to think I'd like to have been a teacher of some sort.
Oh,
Because
so we're the same.
yeah, because we like talking to people.
Yes,
That's what it
it's
is.
still about, hey, you want to listen to me?
You want to listen to me. You don't want to listen. So there's that. But also, I think it's the most important job in the world is to inform the next generation. I think it's so important. So there's that. The reality is, I came into this job in my 30s working for the pharmaceutical industry, and working in a pharmaceutical company, and I had a fairly senior position, and I would most likely still be in that industry, hanging on, hoping that I could get to the point of cashing in my pension. That's what I think is most likely. And I am so grateful that instead of doing that, I'm like starting again doing gigs in comedy clubs in America. So good question, Alex. Very good question.
A
Thank
great
you.
question. I didn't know that Irish folklore had a thing where they were dressing boys as women to avoid the fairies, which I think would be good for trans people in America to know, because the American government is really coming at them. So what they need to change, they change their defense into, I'm just worried that the Irish fairies are coming.
Irish
in.
fairies are coming.
Yeah, which won't play well, because then the Trump people will be like, why are you worried about the Irish fairies?
Yeah, wait, because those immigrants aren't coming in anyway. We're kicking them out. We're kicking the folklore people out. Yeah.
But what I'll tell you, I'll make one serious point about history, because history kind of like as a subject actually lost in popularity, and in general, like the humanities have kind of like gone out of vogue because it's somewhat impractical, right? To get a basic arts degree in a subject like history. Like, what are you going to do? Be a librarian? Even librarians are disappearing. You're going to be really good at searching for shit on the internet. But the one takeaway I had, not really from doing a history degree, but just remaining focused on history for the rest of my life, is, and it's really relevant now, is that history is about stories, right?
Yeah.
They're just narratives, but those narratives are essential to our identity. An identity that then doesn't just become part of who you are, but can also become negative, where you feel like it needs to be protected to the point where you're actually, you're starting to hate other people. And I love identity, and I love the evolution of identity, but these stories, a lot of them are not as rock solid as you think. They just become the accepted past, but they are just versions of events, right? So you don't need to hold on to it sometimes as tightly as you do. And the more you look into it, the more you realize, like, wow, these are literally just tales passed on.
Yeah. Listen, history's written by the victor. Everyone knows that. Everyone, one person decides what actually happened. And that goes right back to religious texts and all the rest of it that are written 200 years after the events and so on. And now, unfortunately, what's happening, you're getting situations where somebody like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, can say something and it becomes accepted before it's fact-checked.
Yes.
And
then that becomes the narrative. It happens.
But
it
that's
happens
the
like
importance of
it used to.
history.
It used to take generations. Now it takes a couple of weeks of a concerted campaign on the internet, and the narrative has changed.
Oh, mate, listen, fucking this country, we've just had the thing that's come out now. 1 in 10 people in the UK believe Brexit was a good idea. So that 90% of people now think that Britain is worse off since Brexit. And Brexit was built on a load of lies that became a narrative. And that's it. It's just that, and those lies changed the course of our history. Yeah. This is a good fun subject, isn't it?
Hey man, it's okay.
No,
It's
it's
okay to talk
interesting.
seriously for a moment. Oh, I was gonna say this is gonna make me sound like I'm showing off culturally, but the great Irish playwright Enda Walsh, who's also a great script writer, he had a play called The Walworth Farce. If you ever get a chance, but it's all about people being stuck in their stories. And Enda Walsh, actually, a lot of his plays are about that. It really helped me to understand how the stories that we accept as who we are can actually cage us at times. So if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend going to see an Enda Walsh play because it will help you to really look at how sometimes we can be imprisoned by narratives that we could also liberate ourselves from. Back to you, John.
See, I need to get you with that other lady. Was it Jen, the one with the lovely voice? And just you, have you two talking.
Anyway, Brad, let's have another. Did John just have a heart attack?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
I've just realised. I've got to get me. I'm going for lunch actually with Alan Carr today. I'm going to get my hair cut. I'm going to go and see Alan. I've just realised they haven't charged my phone up overnight, so I'm just plugging it in.
All right. Now, Brad, hit us.
Hey lads, I'm trying to grow my hair out like John Bishop's lovely luscious hair, and I have a similar salt and pepper thing going on. But I'm at that mid period where I'm losing patience, but I'm gonna hang out. But I was just gonna ask John, what does he give his hair to? Like, what product does he use to give it that lovely luscious kind of zhuzh that he has? He has a lovely kind of almost curl, but not. Thanks. Let me know.
You know what? That's a lovely question, and I'm looking. It was very interesting. If you look on the YouTube channel, there's I did a warm up gig for the current tour that I'm on, and I did it last January. Jesus Christ, you want to look at me there? I don't look lush. I look like one of those fellas that was in that bus stop when you were arguing with your neighbour. Me fucking hair's all down there. It's gone all long and mad. And I keep on thinking whether I need to sort this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but some of it's just your natural hairline.
It's just, maybe it is just my natural hairline. There's nothing that I don't add anything to my hair apart from just wash it. I tell you what I do actually. The lad who cuts my hair now, Pete, I don't wash it more than twice a week. And that's only if I've trained a lot. Most of the
that's
time.
a real lifestyle tip.
No, it is. He said, wash it, don't shampoo it more than twice a week maximum. My God,
Wow.
I can't believe this show has become a health.
You're a lifestyle.
health
You're a
show.
lifestyle guy.
Lifestyle.
You're a lifestyle influencer.
I need to do it. I need to do it in your voice. So all you gotta do is not shampoo as regularly. Over to you,
Well,
Des.
why don't you just do it in your Liverpool accent, but with that kind of like, BBC Radio 4. Do your BBC Radio 4 voice.
My BBC. I didn't know I had that.
Yeah, you know what I mean, like the.
Okay. So what we're suggesting is you don't shampoo too regularly and you condition when you need to. Okay, over to you, Des.
So, thanks for coming back to me, John. What I'd like to say is I very recently also started to obsess about my hairline because the problem with the modern world is you record everything. So actually, you're looking at yourself a lot more, which can clearly
Too
give
more.
you body image issues, which is
Yeah.
probably why I'm injecting myself with Mounjaro. But anyway, I was starting to get a little paranoid about my hairline. And actually, somebody who I was talking to had been to Turkey and had, he took the Turkish hairlines and he got something done. But anyway, the picture that I posted yesterday, the one from us in 2014, I saw that my hairline is like that then too.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's just my hairline. And by
No,
the way,
terrible.
I use purple shampoo. I actually use the purple gray hair shampoo.
Oh, well, that was one thing as well. So when I was on Doctor Who, Amy, the makeup artist on Doctor Who, got me this purple shampoo, and she said Donald Sutherland. She was doing a film with him, and he insisted it was the only thing on his rider is that they had that shampoo and that conditioner, the purple shampoo.
There you
Silver
go,
Fox.
baby. Because it takes the yellow out.
Well, just don't piss on your hair.
The first. Don't give up my secrets, John. No more golden showers.
Yeah.
So, our first Dublin accent of the episode was actually talking about not fitting a stereotype. He's in there like, "Yeah, John, can you give us your hair care routine?" Which is great. Do we have any more, Brad?
Okay, guys, help me out with this one. Long story short, my boyfriend's mother is a toxic person. She's so negative. We don't agree on a lot of things, and we actually butt heads a lot. And it turns my stomach every time I have to see her. So my boyfriend asked me to go have dinner with her this week because we haven't seen her in a long time, and he wants us to have a relationship with her. And I've made it very clear to him that we don't agree on a lot of things. It never ends well. I don't feel good when I have to see her. I always have to silence myself. I can't speak my truth. It's going to be like super judgmental. Like everything about it is a no. So how do I not break his heart, because he wants me to have this relationship with his mother, but I want to set the boundary that's like, I'll see her on Christmas or when I need to. Is it better for me to just suck it up and like hate these dinners but do them because I love him, or should I be able to like not feel uncomfortable and he should respect that?
Oh, love a family drama, I have to say.
Well, let's hope her boyfriend doesn't listen, because I think
It's all right. Listen, she put it out there. It's okay.
Exactly. Well, let's hope her boyfriend's mother does listen.
Yeah.
That would sort the problem.
This is always complicated, these scenarios.
Listen, family's difficult. Family's difficult, and you always get that bit where people are not necessarily going out with, if you get somebody in your life, you get everyone in their life in your life. And sometimes you wouldn't have picked everybody, and family's a difficult thing because they're always there. Friends, you can say, I just don't like your friends, but it's very difficult to say, I do not like someone as integral as your mother. And it sounds difficult because whoever left the question sounds like a nice person, so you think, well, the mother must be the one who's
You make that assumption. I mean, she's the one messaging in, so we're definitely taking her side.
Yeah, of course she is. Of course she is. Anyone who listens to the show, we're on your side. You know what? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because on one side where she says, shall I speak my truth? Which is like, shall I say, look, I don't like this, or I don't like your opinions or all that stuff. Because what you're going to look at is he's in the middle. And he's the one not seeing his mum. And he's also the one not allowing his mum to share the joy he's got by having this partner and seeing how happy he is. So I would personally say, look, try and say, we'll do this a few times a year, but you've got to allow me the safe word to say to you that this conversation's not working. So when you're in the middle of a dinner, if the mother's saying something that you dislike or it's really wind you up, you need a word to say to your boyfriend.
The safe word is cunt. The safe word is cunt. Will this cunt ever? No, I'm sorry. I know people hate that word, but
yeah. No, there should be, the safe word should be something like gaggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a word you don't normally say.
I mean, listen, honestly, I agree with you, but I also think that, like, there comes a time where if it's so toxic, and we can't make a judgment because we don't know how toxic it is, right? But if it's so toxic, I personally feel that eventually, if somebody's being so much of a C word, that it's okay to be like, would you ever fuck off? Like, I think there comes a time where you have to be like, I'm done with your bullshit. And it's a tale as old as time, that the mother of the man doesn't get along with the wife. Whatever reason that is, it's pretty common, So
it'd be interesting that, actually, because I'm going to go and see that Oedipus play next week.
Oh yeah, the whole mother-son thing.
Yeah. That I might have the answer.
But I always say to Hannah's always like, your mother would have loved me. And I'll be like, well, the good news is We never have to find
you
out because she
never
was
have to
very
find out.
50-50 on people. So, judging from this message always goes, pros and cons to the dead parents thing. Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Every cloud. Every cloud.
Every cloud has a silver line.
He
And
never made the wedding.
by the way, and this is not just because she may be listening, but Hannah's mother is like perfect.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't have got her dad is all right. No, I'm just kidding. But the mother and father are awesome, and we get on great. So I got very lucky with the in-laws. So
Yeah.
lucky me. And you're going to plead the fifth.
Oh no! Listen, I did. Like I was, Melanie's dad passed away. I love Melanie's dad. I mean, I was really, really, really close to him. He was a great man. One of the most impressive men I've met. I'm really close to him. And then Melanie's mum, she lived next door to us. And, and she was always going to live next door to us when we came down here when she moved back from France. So I was close to Melanie's mum, very close. Although I have to tell you this is true. When we first started going out with her, Melanie's mum did not like me.
Really?
Did not like me at all.
Interesting.
And she had every reason not to like me. Because what happened, she had a guest house in the Lake District, and Melanie took me to go meet her mum, and we were going to stay at the guest house. We were staying at the guest house, and it was just when football was starting to get played of a Sunday. So we stayed on the Saturday night. Sunday lunchtime, we were going to have Sunday lunch. So and the television's in the kitchen while her mother is making Sunday lunch. And she's talking to me just as the football began and Liverpool were playing. And as she's talking to me, I just went, yeah. And I just put the volume up on the telly.
Oh my God, John.
Oh my God. I know. What a mistake. I genuinely just put the volume up and honestly, boom. And like she held that in her for years. Fucking years. But she was lovely. Yeah, as you say, it makes things a lot easier. But it also helps, and this might be the situation here with this person, to let this person know and let your partner let this parent know you ain't going anywhere. So there's no fucking point in falling out with you. All you're doing is making a problem. I'm here to stay.
Yeah, but I do think in general that you have to be open to the compromise. But I am definitely a fan of eventually you don't have to keep putting yourself in toxic situations. And it's just very weird the way people, they get the barrier up and then that's it, like loggerheads.
That's fine. Yeah, leave it then. Yeah, good.
So
good stuff. Thanks.
Gonna call it a day.
Yeah, that's I think we've given advice, we've answered some questions.
Yeah, we need to remind people to rate on if you're listening on Apple Pod. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave a review if you listen on Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating on Spotify. Like and subscribe on John's YouTube. So very important. By the way, I'm in Limerick on Friday. If anybody happens to hear this, a few tickets left. Also on an Irish tour. John, you have anything to plug?
No, because I'm on tour. We're in Weymouth, we're done. You know what I mean?
Done,
if people can get tickets, great. But we'll start again in Weymouth. But there's not many tickets, if any tickets left. So we're lucky enough with that. But listen, as Des said, if you can, give us the review on Apple, stick the 5 stars on or whatever. Do the thing on Spotify, the rate, like and subscribe on YouTube. And this is a learning process. The one thing I will say to you is this is a learning process. People seem to be enjoying it, but we will take any comments about how we can improve it, apart from stop doing it.
Yeah, apart from that. Also, when we share clips on Instagram, don't be afraid to share them in your stories and just tell people word of mouth, let people know.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. Brad, enjoy your holiday, you selfish bastard.
Yeah. Enjoy your whisper. Enjoy your careless whispers. Your careless whispers.
Whispering angel. Bradley, the whispering angel. Take care, everyone. See you soon.